The incident. The skies over New York City blazed with an ethereal light as the Galactic Empire's diplomatic vessel descended through the atmosphere. Its sleek, opalescent hull seemed to ripple like liquid metal, defying Earth's physics with casual ease. Millions watched in awe, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of holoscreen broadcasts, as humanity stood on the precipice of a new era. Dr. Ilara Chen, Earth's lead diplomat, straightened her collar and took a deep breath. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders, a burden she trained a lifetime to bear. Beside her, a dozen of Earth's most influential leaders shifted nervously, their practiced poise faltering in the face of the unknown. As the ship touched down in Central Park, a hush fell over the gathered crowds. A seam appeared in the seamless hull, widening into a portal from which emerged beings that defied easy description. The Galactic Empire's representatives were a dizzying array of forms, some vaguely humanoid, others utterly alien. Their leader, a towering figure with iridescent scales and multifaceted eyes, stepped forward. "I am High Emissary Zixtar." The alien's voice resonated, a perfect facsimile of human speech. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community." Dr. Chen bowed slightly, a gesture carefully chosen after months of cultural analysis. "High Emissary, Earth is honored by your presence. We look forward to peaceful and productive relations with the Galactic Empire." The first days of contact were a whirlwind of diplomatic meetings, cultural exchanges, and technological demonstrations. Earth's leaders marveled at faster-than-light travel, energy generation beyond their wildest dreams, and medical advances that bordered on miraculous. Yet, as the initial awe faded, tensions began to simmer beneath the surface. The Empire's casual disregard for individual freedoms and their rigid hierarchical structure clashed with Earth's diverse political landscape. Protests erupted in major cities worldwide, with signs declaring humanity won't kneel and freedom is non-negotiable. It was against this backdrop of growing unease that the Galactic Embassy announced a grand cultural exchange. Each nation on Earth was invited to send a representative to showcase their culture, and in return, the Empire would share insights into galactic civilization. In a stroke of what would later be seen as tragic irony, the global community decided their youth should be at the forefront of this exchange. "Let the children lead us into a brighter future," the UN Secretary-General had proclaimed, to thunderous applause. Among those chosen was 12-year-old Zara Patel, a prodigy from a small town in India. With an IQ off the charts and a passion for both theoretical physics and classical dance, Zara embodied the best of humanity's potential. Her parents, both researchers at the Indian Space Research Organization, beamed with pride as Zara was selected. The day of the exchange arrived, and the grand hall of the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva buzzed with excitement. Children from every corner of the globe, dressed in a vibrant tapestry of traditional attire, mingled with alien beings of all descriptions. Zara, resplendent in a peacock blue sari embroidered with golden constellations, approached a display of imperial artifacts with wide-eyed wonder. The objects defied easy categorization, shapes that seemed to bend in impossible ways, surfaces that changed color and texture as you watched. "Careful, young one," a melodious voice cautioned. Zora looked up to see a willowy alien with feather-like appendages. "These artifacts are more than mere curios. They are gateways to understanding the fundamental forces of the universe." Zora's eyes lit up. "Really? How do they work? Are they based on quantum entanglement or something even more advanced?" The alien seemed taken aback by her questions, then let out a trilling laugh. "My, what a curious mind you have. Perhaps a small demonstration is in order." With a graceful movement, the alien activated one of the artifacts, a spherical object that began to glow with an inner light. Mesmerized, Zara reached out, her fingers almost brushing its surface. What happened next would be debated for years to come. Some said Zora's innate brilliance somehow resonated with the artifact. Others claimed it was a deliberate trap set by the Empire. Regardless of the cause, The result was catastrophic. A pulse of energy erupted from the sphere, engulfing Zara in a cocoon of crackling light. Alarms blared as Imperial technology throughout the embassy flickered and died. When the light faded, Zara stood unharmed. But the damage was done. Imperial guards swarmed the hall, their weapons trained on the bewildered girl. High Emissary Zixkar's voice boomed over the chaos. "Seize the human child. She has committed an act of sabotage against the Galactic Empire." Dr. Chen rushed forward, placing herself between Zara and the guards. "This is a misunderstanding. She's just a child. She meant no harm." But the Empire's justice was swift and merciless. Within hours, Zara found herself in a sterile chamber, facing a panel of stern-faced alien judges. The trial, if it could be called that, was a farce. Evidence was presented in untranslated alien languages, and Zara's pleas for understanding fell on deaf ears. As news of the trial spread, Earth erupted in outrage. Governments issued ultimatums, threatening to cut off all contact with the Empire. Hackers launched attacks against Imperial networks, while mass protests choked the streets of every major city. In a last-ditch effort to save Zora, her parents appealed directly to the Empire's supreme leader. Their tearful holographic message was broadcast across the galaxy. "Please," Zora's mother sobbed. "She's our only child. She represents the best of what humanity can be. Show mercy, and you'll prove the greatness of your empire to all of us." For a moment, it seemed the Empire might relent. Rumors spread of heated debates among the Imperial High Command. But in the end, the Empire's unyielding law prevailed. The execution was set for dawn, Earth time. As the first rays of sunlight painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, billions of humans and aliens alike tuned in to the live broadcast. Zara stood on a platform, her small frame dwarfed by the massive architecture of the Imperial Justice Center. In her final moments, Zara showed a courage that would be remembered for generations. She looked directly into the camera, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. "To my parents, to all of Earth, and to the beings of the galaxy, I'm not afraid. I believe that one day we'll all understand each other better. Don't let my death be in vain. Let it be a reason to come together, to learn, and to grow. The universe is too big and too wonderful for us to stay divided." A blinding flash of light ended the transmission. For a heartbeat, the world stood still. Then, as one, humanity roared. The streets filled with mourners and protesters. World leaders, many openly weeping, convened an emergency session of the United Nations. And in hidden bunkers and secret facilities around the globe, codes were transmitted and ancient protocols activated. As night fell on a world forever changed, the first tremors of Earth's response began to stir. Deep beneath the surface, in the shadowy depths of the oceans, and in the cold void of space, something awakened. Humanity had been pushed too far, and now, the Galactic Empire would face the consequences of their cruel act. The age of human subjugation was over. The era of the Dreadnoughts was about to begin. Earth's secret revealed. The world mourned. Cities fell silent, streets empty save for the occasional sob echoing from an open window. Zara Patel's face gazed out from every holoscreen, her final words playing on an endless loop. For 3 days, humanity grieved as one. On the 4th day, everything changed. Dr. Ilara Chen sat in the dimly lit UN Security Council chamber, her eyes red-rimmed from sleepless nights. Around her, world leaders argued in hushed, urgent tones. The Galactic Empire's ultimatum hung over them like a sword. Accept imperial rule or face annihilation. "We have no choice," the Russian president growled. "Our most advanced weapons are children's toys compared to their technology. So we roll over and die." The U.S. president slammed her fist on the table. "After what they did to Zara." As voices rose and tempers flared, a soft chime cut through the chaos. Every screen in the room lit up with the same message. "Ascension Protocol activated. Sanctuary chaos." Confused murmurs filled the room. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" the Chinese premier demanded. Dr. Chen felt her heart race. Sanctuary, a word whispered in the darkest corners of the intelligence community. A myth, a legend, and now, apparently, very real. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice cutting through the noise, "I suggest we answer the call." Moments later, the room plunged into darkness. When the lights returned, the leaders found themselves no longer in New York, but in a vast, cavernous space that seemed to stretch for miles in every direction. "Welcome to Sanctuary Luna," a voice boomed. A figure stepped out of the shadows, a man who looked to be in his mid-50s, with salt and pepper hair and eyes that sparked with an unsettling intelligence. "I am Director Arcturus. For centuries, we have prepared for this day." Holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing images that defied belief. Massive shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt, sprawling underwater bases in Earth's deepest oceans, and ships, thousands upon thousands of ships, each easily dwarfing the largest imperial vessel they'd seen. "Impossible," the Indian Prime Minister whispered. How long?" "Since before recorded history," Arcturus replied. "Sanctuary was founded by the survivors of an interstellar war that nearly wiped out humanity 12,000 years ago. We've guided human development from the shadows, preparing Earth for the day the stars would once again threaten our existence." The revelation hit like a physical blow. Everything they knew about human history, about their place in the universe, shattered in an instant. "These ships," Dr. Chen said, finding her voice, "what are they capable of?" Arcturus smiled, a predator baring its teeth. "Let me show you." With a wave of his hand, the holograms coalesced into a single massive image, a ship that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Its hull rippled with patterns of light that hurt the eyes to look at directly. "This is the Zara's Vengeance, the first of our Nemesis-class dreadnoughts. Powered by dark energy drives reverse-engineered from a dozen alien civilizations, weapons that can crack planets, shields that can withstand the fury of a supernova. And we have 699,999 more just like it." The Chinese premier's eyes narrowed. "If you have such power, why reveal it only now? Why let the Empire threaten us at all?" Arcturus's expression darkened. "Because using this fleet means war on a scale you can't imagine. Billions will die, entire worlds will burn. We needed to be certain humanity was ready, not just technologically, but morally. Zara's execution proved that the Empire cannot be reasoned with. Her sacrifice gives us the moral authority to act." A heavy silence fell over the group. The weight of the decision before them pressed down like a physical force. The U.S. President stepped forward, her voice steady. "You said you've guided our development. How? And why should we trust you now?" Arcturus nodded, as if he'd been waiting for this question. "A fair point. Sanctuary has operated through thousands of front organizations over the centuries. We've nudged scientific discoveries, influenced political decisions, all to prepare humanity for this moment. As for trust," he paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "You're here because deep down, you've always known something like us must exist. How else could humanity have come so far so fast?" He gestured, and new holograms appeared. Familiar faces from throughout history: Galileo, Newton, Einstein, Turing. Just a few of the many sanctuary operatives who pushed humanity forward. "We are you, your best and brightest, working in secret across generations." Dr. Chen's mind raced, connecting dots she'd never seen before. "The space race," she said suddenly. "The exponential growth of computing power. The unification of quantum mechanics and general relativity. It was all you." Arcturus smiled. "Guided by us, achieved by humanity as a whole. We provided the map, but your people walked the path." The Russian president, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. "These ships, who will crew them?" "We have millions of trained personnel in stasis throughout the solar system," Arcturus replied. Men and women who volunteered for a cause they knew they might never see realized in their lifetime. But we'll need more, Earth's finest, to join the fight. The gravity of the situation settled over the room. This wasn't just a decision about retaliation. It was about the future of the human race. The UN Secretary-General stepped forward. We need to put this to a vote. Not just us in this room, but the people of Earth. They deserve to know the truth, to have a say in our response. Arcturus nodded solemnly. Agreed. But be warned, the moment we reveal ourselves, the Empire will know something is amiss. We'll need to move quickly once the decision is made. For the next 48 hours, Earth held its breath. The revelation of Sanctuary and the Dreadnought fleet sent shockwaves through every level of society. Conspiracy theorists crowed vindication, while religious leaders grappled with the implications for their faiths. Scientists pored over the technical specifications released by Sanctuary, their worldviews expanding with each new discovery. And through it all, Zora's face watched from every screen, her final words a reminder of what was at stake. When the votes were tallied, the result was clear. With an overwhelming majority, humanity chose to fight. As dawn broke on the third day, Arcturus stood before the assembled leaders of Earth in Sanctuary's lunar base. Behind him, a massive viewport revealed the curved surface of the moon, and beyond it, the blue marble of Earth. "It's time," he said, his voice resonating through the chamber. "Humanity has chosen its path. Now we show the galaxy why they should have left us alone." He pressed a glowing panel, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly at first, but with gathering speed, pinpricks of light began to appear across the lunar surface. Massive hangar doors ground open, revealing the slumbering forms of humanity's secret armada. In high orbit around Earth, in the asteroid belt, and in the distant Kuiper belt, more ships emerged from hidden docks and dimensional pockets, a fleet beyond imagination, built for a war humanity had been preparing for without even knowing it. As the Zara's vengeance rose majestically from its lunar berth, Dr. Chen felt a mix of awe and terror. They were about to change the course of galactic history. "May the stars have mercy on us all," she whispered, "for we are about to have none." Mobilization and first strike. The next week passed in a blur of frenetic activity. Across the Earth, millions of volunteers streamed into hastily established recruitment centers. The call had gone out, and humanity answered with a fervor that surprised even the Sanctuary leadership. Dr. Ilara Chen found herself aboard the Zara's Vengeance, coordinating with a dizzying array of military leaders, scientists, and Sanctuary personnel. The ship's corridors buzzed with activity as crew members, both newly awakened from stasis and freshly recruited, rushed to their stations. "Dr. Chen," a voice called out. She turned to see Director Arcturus approaching, his face grim. "We've just received word. The Empire has begun massing its fleet at the edge of our solar system. They're no doubt puzzled by our sudden radio silence, but it won't be long before they decide to investigate." Chen nodded, her jaw set. "Then we stick to the plan. Operation Child's Dawn begins now." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden fleet stirred to life. Dreadnoughts unfolded like massive metallic flowers, their hulls shimmering with barely contained energy. Smaller craft swarmed around them, fighters, bombers, and support vessels, each a marvel of technology in its own right. On Earth, tensions ran high. Those not directly involved in the war effort huddled around holoscreens, watching as the greatest armada in human history prepared to launch. Parents held their children close, whispering promises of a safer future. In schools, teachers led discussions on the ethics of war and the responsibilities that came with advanced technology. Aboard the Zara's Vengeance, Admiral Helena Kowalski addressed the assembled fleet commanders, her holographic form flickering slightly as it was transmitted across millions of kilometers of space. "Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've trained for is upon us. Our first target is the Empire's primary FTL communication hub, a Dyson swarm surrounding the Pulsar PSR J0100 and 81431. The swarm acts as a galaxy-wide relay for their faster-than-light communications. By taking it out, we'll throw their entire command structure into chaos. She paused, her eyes sweeping the room. Make no mistake, this will be our Pearl Harbor moment. After this, there's no going back. The galaxy will know that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. As the commanders dispersed to their ships, Dr. Chen approached Admiral Kowalski. "Helena," she said softly, "are we doing the right thing? The death toll from this strike alone will be..." Kowalski's expression softened. "Enormous, yes. But remember what's at stake. If we don't strike first and strike hard, billions more could die. Sometimes the most ethical choice is also the most terrible." Chen nodded, not entirely convinced but understanding the logic. As she made her way to the bridge, she couldn't help but wonder what Zara would think of all this. Would she approve of a war waged in her name? The countdown to launch ticked away. Across the fleet, crew members strapped in said silent prayers or simply stared at the stars, knowing it might be their last chance to see them peacefully. "All ships report ready," the tactical officer announced. "Awaiting your command, Admiral." Kowalski took a deep breath. "For Earth. For Zara. All ships, execute jump sequence." In a dazzling display of light and energy, 700,000 dreadnoughts and their support craft vanished from the solar system. They reappeared moments later at the edge of the Oort clouds surrounding PSR J0100 and 81431. The pulsar's rhythmic flashes illuminated a vast, delicate structure surrounding it. The Empire's Dyson swarm. Enemy ships detected. The sensor officer called out. "They'd spotted us." "As expected," Kowalski replied calmly. "Implement Phase 2 of Child's Dawn." Instantly, the human fleet began to disperse in a complex, seemingly chaotic pattern. Imperial ships scrambled to intercept, but found their targeting systems unable to lock on. "The pulsar's radiation is interfering with their sensors, just as we predicted," the science officer reported. "Our dark energy shields are holding." Dr. Chen watched in awe as the battle unfolded. The Empire's ships, despite their advanced technology, seemed clumsy and uncoordinated compared to the fluid movements of the human fleet. Centuries of preparation and simulated combat were paying off. "Launch the Orpheus torpedoes," Kowalski commanded. From the bowels of the Dreadnoughts emerged sleek, black projectiles. They streaked towards the Dyson swarm, somehow managing to appear darker than the void of space itself. "Orpheus torpedoes?" Chen questioned. "Antimatter warheads," Arcturus explained, appearing at her side. "Designed to create a cascading reaction in the swarm's energy collection systems. Watch." The torpedoes struck home. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a string of fairy lights shorting out, the Dyson swarm began to go dark. Section by section, the massive structure fell silent. Cheers erupted across the bridge of the Zara's vengeance, but Chen noticed Kowalski and Arcturus remained grim-faced. "It's not over," Kowalski said, cutting through the celebration. "Brace for impact." The Empire's ships, realizing the true nature of the attack, launched a desperate counteroffensive. Energy beams and exotic particles crisscrossed space, finding targets among the human fleet. "We've lost the Thermopylae and the Alamo," the tactical officer reported. "The Edinburgh is badly damaged, but still in the fight." Chen felt her heart sink. Each of those ships carried tens of thousands of crew members. The cost of this victory was already mounting. For hours, the battle raged. Human ingenuity and preparation clashed against Imperial numbers and desperation. Slowly but surely, the tide turned in humanity's favor. As the last Imperial ship fell silent, a hush fell over the bridge of the Zara's vengeance. They had won, but the magnitude of what they'd done was only now sinking in. "Status report," Kowalski demanded, her voice hoarse. "The Dyson swarm is completely offline," the tactical officer replied. "We've destroyed or disabled 82% of the Imperial fleet in this sector. Our losses stand at 1,324 ships, with another 3,000 reporting significant damage. Over 100,000 dead or injured, Chen calculated silently. And that's just on our side. Arcturus stepped forward. "Send the signal," he said quietly. "Let Earth know it's done." As the encrypted transmission was sent, Chen moved to the viewport. The pulsar's rhythmic flashing illuminated the debris field that now surrounded it, a graveyard of ships, both human and imperial. "We've changed the course of history today," Kowalski said, joining her at the viewport. "For better or worse?" Chen nodded, her throat tight. "What happens now?" "Now," Arcturus interjected. "Now the real war begins. We've bloodied the Empire's nose and knocked out their primary means of coordination. But they still outnumber us, and they'll be out for revenge." As if to punctuate his words, long-range sensors began to light up. Imperial reinforcements, pouring in from neighboring sectors. Kowalski straightened her uniform. "All hands, prepare for immediate jump. We've struck our blow. Now it's time to face the consequences." As the fleet prepared to return to Earth, Chen took one last look at the devastation they'd wrought. In her mind, she saw Zora's face, heard her final words echoing. "Don't let my death be in vain." "I hope we haven't let you down, Zora," she whispered. "I hope all this is worth it." With a flash of energy, the human fleet disappeared, leaving behind a shattered Dyson swarm and a galaxy forever changed. The first strike had been made. Now, humanity would face the Empire's retaliation, and the true test of their resolve was about to begin. The Empire strikes back. The jubilation that had swept across Earth following the successful strike against the Empire's communication hub was short-lived. As the human fleet regrouped in the Sol system, the first reports of Imperial retaliation began to trickle in. Dr. Ilara Chen stood in the war room aboard the Zora's Vengeance, her face ashen as she watched the holographic displays. Entire systems on the fringes of human-controlled space were going dark, overwhelmed by waves of Imperial forces. "They're not just striking military targets," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're destroying everything." Admiral Kowalski nodded grimly. "The Empire's making a statement. They want to show the galaxy what happens to those who dare to challenge them." The door hissed open, and Director Arcturus strode in, his usual composure noticeably strained. "We've just received a transmission from the Imperial capital. You need to see this." The holodisplay flickered, replaced by the image of an alien being. Its form was unlike anything they had encountered before, a writhing mass of tentacles and eyes, constantly shifting and reforming. "I am Emperor Zixcalar," the being's voice boomed, somehow conveying both fury and cold calculation. "You primitive humans thought you could challenge the might of the Galactic Empire. Your arrogance will be your undoing." The image shifted, showing a massive vessel unlike any they had seen before. It dwarfed even the largest Imperial ships they had encountered. "Behold the Worldbreaker," Zixcalar continued. "A demonstration of its power should clarify the futility of your resistance." The feed cut to a view of a peaceful-looking planet, teeming with life. Without warning, a beam of energy lanced out from the Worldbreaker, striking the planet's surface. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The planet's crust began to crack and splinter, its very core destabilizing. In a matter of minutes, the once vibrant world was reduced to a field of asteroids. Gasps and cries of horror filled the war room. Dr. Chen felt her knees go weak, steadying herself against a console. "The planet Proxima Centauri b," Arcturus said quietly. "Population of 2.3 billion. It was one of our oldest colonies outside the Sol system." The Emperor's image reappeared. "This is but a taste of what awaits you. Surrender now, and perhaps we will be merciful. Resist, and we will reduce your precious Earth to cosmic dust." As the transmission ended, a heavy silence fell over the room. Admiral Kowalski was the first to speak. "Options, people. I need options. We can't just sit back and let them slaughter innocent worlds," Chen argued. "We have to do something." "Agreed," Arcturus said. But we need to be strategic. The World Breaker changes everything. Our intelligence suggests they only have one, but even a single ship of that caliber could turn the tide of the war. For hours, they debated strategy. Plans were proposed and discarded as quickly as they were formed. The weight of billions of lives hung over every decision. As the discussion reached a fever pitch, a junior officer burst into the room. "Sirs, we're detecting a massive Imperial fleet entering the Alpha Centauri system. They'll be in range of Earth within 48 hours. Kowalski's eyes narrowed. "So, they're coming for us directly. Good. Time to see what our home field advantage is worth." The next 2 days were a blur of activity. Earth's orbital defenses were brought to full alert, hidden weapon platforms emerging from dimensional pockets throughout the solar system. The civilian population was evacuated to vast underground shelters, the product of centuries of secret preparation by Sanctuary. As the Imperial Armada approached, humanity steeled itself for the greatest battle in its history. The clash, when it came, was beyond anything Earth had ever witnessed. The space around Alpha Centauri became a maelstrom of energy weapons, swarms of fighter craft, and exotic weapons that defied easy classification. Aboard the Zara's Vengeance, Dr. Chen worked frantically to coordinate the fleet's movements, using real-time data to predict Imperial tactics. Her years of studying alien psychology were paying off, allowing her to anticipate the enemy's moves, sometimes before they even made them. "The World Breaker is holding back," she noted, studying the tactical display. "They're keeping it in reserve, probably waiting for a clear shot at Earth." Arcturus nodded. "We need to draw it out, force them to commit it to the battle before it can target our homeworld." Kowalski's eyes lit up with a dangerous gleam. "I have an idea. It's risky, but it might be our only shot." The plan was audacious, bordering on insane. Using a combination of holographic projections and carefully coordinated fleet movements, they would create the illusion that Earth's defenses were collapsing. The hope was to lure the World Breaker into range of a trap they had only hours to prepare. As the battle raged on, the human fleet began to give ground, appearing to crumble under the Imperial onslaught. Ships blinked out of existence, only to reappear elsewhere in the system, sowing confusion among the enemy ranks. From his flagship, Emperor Zix-Kalair watched the battle unfold with growing impatience. "Enough of this," he snarled. "Bring the World Breaker to bear. Let us end this pitiful resistance once and for all." The massive ship lumbered forward, its weapon systems charging. As it moved into position, Kowalski gave the signal. "Operation Trojan Horse, execute now." Suddenly, the seemingly retreating human fleet turned as one, revealing hidden weapon emplacements that had been masked by advanced cloaking technology. Concentrated fire from thousands of ships converged on the World Breaker, its shields flaring under the assault. For a moment, it seemed as if even this wouldn't be enough. The World Breaker's armor held, its return fire decimating dozens of human ships with each volley. Then a new player entered the fray. From the depths of Jupiter's atmosphere rose a massive cannon, the product of centuries of secret development. The Ganymede siege gun, Sanctuary's ultimate weapon, fired a single shot, a concentrated burst of dark energy that tore through space-time itself. The World Breaker's shields failed, and the shot struck true. The mighty vessel shuddered, great rents appearing in its hull. Secondary explosions blossomed across its surface, and with a final, cataclysmic detonation, the pride of the Imperial fleet was no more. A stunned silence fell over the battlefield. Then, like a dam breaking, the Imperial fleet began to retreat, their coordinated assault degenerating into a chaotic rout. On the bridge of the Zara's Vengeance, exhausted cheers broke out. They had done it. They had faced the Empire's mightiest weapon and emerged victorious. But the celebration was short-lived. As the adrenaline faded, the true cost of the battle became clear. Thousands of ships destroyed on both sides. Millions of lives lost. The space around Alpha Centauri was now a graveyard. littered with the debris of shattered vessels and broken dreams. Dr. Chen slumped in her chair, the weight of the day's events crashing down on her. "We won," she said softly. "But at what cost?" Arcturus placed a hand on her shoulder. "The cost is high," he admitted. "But remember what we're fighting for. Every life lost today was in service of a future where no more children will suffer Zora's fate." As the fleet regrouped and began rescue operations, reports started coming in from across the galaxy. The destruction of the Worldbreaker had sent shockwaves through the Empire. Rebellions were erupting on 100 worlds, inspired by humanity's stand against tyranny. The war was far from over, but for the first time, victory seemed possible. Humanity had faced the Empire's worst and survived. Now, they would take the fight to the enemy's doorstep. As she looked out at the star-strewn battlefield, Dr. Chen allowed herself a small smile. "I hope you're watching, Zora," she whispered. "We're going to build the better galaxy you dreamed of. I promise." A new galactic order. The destruction of the Worldbreaker marked a turning point in the war, but victory was far from assured. As news of humanity's stand against the Empire spread across the galaxy, long-suppressed rebellions flared to life on countless worlds. The once mighty Galactic Empire found itself fighting on multiple fronts, its resources stretched thin. Aboard the Zora's Vengeance, now scared from numerous battles, Earth's leadership convened to plan their final push. Dr. Elara Chen, her face drawn from months of relentless conflict, addressed the assembled commanders. "We've received intelligence from resistance cells within the Empire," she began, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "They've located Emperor Zixkalar's hidden stronghold, a massive space station orbiting a black hole in the galactic core." Director Arcturus stepped forward, bringing up a holographic display of the station. "It's heavily defended, of course. The black hole's gravitational field makes conventional FTL travel impossible in the region. A direct assault would be suicide." Admiral Kowalski, her uniform adorned with new medals and signs of hasty repairs, smiled grimly. "Then we don't assault it directly. We have something they don't expect: allies." The plan that emerged was audacious, relying as much on diplomacy and subterfuge as it did on military might. As the human fleet made a show of massing for an attack, Dr. Chen embarked on a secret mission. Using Sanctuary's advanced stealth technology, she slipped behind enemy lines, making contact with key leaders of the alien resistance. For weeks, she traveled from world to world, negotiating alliances and coordinating strategy. Many of the aliens were initially skeptical, centuries of imperial propaganda having painted humans as primitive savages. But Chen's intellect, empathy, and the undeniable proof of humanity's achievements won them over. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists worked feverishly to adapt their dark energy drives to function in the extreme conditions near the black hole. The fate of the galaxy would hinge on their success. As the day of the final battle approached, tension ran high throughout the human fleet. They had come so far, lost so much. Failure now would mean not just defeat, but extinction. Admiral Kowalski addressed the fleet, her words broadcasted to every ship and every resistance cell across the galaxy. "Today, we fight not just for Earth, not just for humanity, but for every sentient being who has suffered under the Empire's tyranny. Remember, Zora, remember every innocent life lost to Imperial cruelty. Today, we set the galaxy free." The battle began with a massive human assault on the Empire's core worlds, drawing the bulk of their remaining forces away from the Emperor's stronghold. As Imperial ships scrambled to defend their capitals, the real attack began. Resistance ships from 100 alien races, cobbled together from outdated Imperial cast-offs and modified civilian vessels, dropped out of FTL at the edge of the black hole's gravitational influence. In their midst, a small task force of human dreadnoughts, led by the Zora's Vengeance, pushed their dark energy drives to the limit. The station's defenders were caught completely off guard. They had never imagined such a diverse force could penetrate their defenses, let alone cooperate effectively. The battle was fierce, with losses mounting on both sides. But slowly, inevitably, the Allies pushed forward. Dr. Chen, embedded with a team of alien commandos, fought her way through the station's twisting corridors. Her expertise in xenopsychology proved invaluable, allowing her to anticipate and counter the Empire's tactics. Finally, they'd reached the Emperor's inner sanctum. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Emperor Zixkaler's true form was revealed, a being of pure energy, tethered to our dimension by ancient and terrible machines. The air crackled with power as the Emperor unleashed devastating attacks, obliterating several of Chen's alien allies in seconds. But humanity had one final card to play. From the depths of the Zora's vengeance, a special team led by Director Arcturus deployed a device that was the culmination of millennia of human and alien science, a contained singularity, a miniature black hole. As Chen and her surviving teammates distracted the Emperor, Arcturus' team maneuvered the device into position. With a silent flash, it activated. The Emperor's form wavered, drawn inexorably toward the microscopic black hole. In his last moments, Zixkaler's psychic scream echoed through the minds of every being in the system. "You think this is victory?" The dying Emperor raged. "You've only doomed yourselves. Without the Empire to hold it together, the galaxy will descend into chaos." As the Emperor's essence was consumed by the singularity, Chen felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It was over. They had won. In the days that followed, the full implications of their victory became clear. With the Emperor gone, and their leadership in disarray, Imperial forces across the galaxy began to surrender. But Zixkaler's final words proved prophetic. Centuries of Imperial rule had left much of the galaxy ill-prepared for self-governance. Earth's leaders found themselves faced with a monumental choice. They had the power to establish a new human-led empire, to take the Empire's place as the dominant force in the galaxy. The temptation was immense. It was Dr. Chen who proposed an alternative. Standing before the assembled leaders of Earth and their alien allies, she spoke passionately of a different path. "We didn't fight this war to replace one tyranny with another," she argued. "We fought for freedom, not just for humans, but for all sentient beings. I propose we establish a galactic federation, a democratic body where all races have an equal voice." The debate raged for days. Many humans, still bitter from the loss and trauma of the war, argued for a more dominant role for Earth. But in the end, Chen's vision won out. And so, on the anniversary of Zara Patel's execution, representatives from thousands of worlds gathered on a neutral planet to sign the charter of the new Galactic Federation. The document enshrined principles of individual liberty, scientific cooperation, and mutual defense. As she watched the signing ceremony, Dr. Chen felt a bittersweet sense of accomplishment. They had achieved more than she had ever dreamed possible, but the cost had been unimaginably high. A quiet voice beside her broke her reverie. She would be proud, you know. It was Admiral Kowalski, looking strange in civilian formal wear. "Zara, this is the kind of future she hoped for." Chen nodded, blinking back tears. "I hope so. I just wish she could have seen it." As if in answer to her words, a group of children from various alien races ran past, laughing and playing together. Among them was a young human girl, her eyes bright with the same curiosity and joy that had once shone in Zora's. "Maybe she can see it, in a way," Kowalski said softly. "Through them. Through the future we've given them." As the new Galactic Senate convened for the first time, Chen allowed herself to hope. The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges. Old enmities and new crises would threaten the fragile peace they had forged. But for the first time in millennia, the galaxy faced the future not with fear, but with hope. In a quiet corner of the Federation's capital, a small memorial stood. A hologram of a smiling human girl greeted visitors, her final words etched in 1,000 alien languages. "Don't let my death be in vain. Let it be a reason to come together, to learn and to grow." The universe is too big and too wonderful for us to stay divided. Zerva's dream had become reality. A new age of galactic cooperation and exploration had begun, born from the crucible of war, but tempered by the best of humanity's ideals. The stars, once a source of terror, now beckoned with infinite possibilities.